Well, there's a very familiar theme, particularly if you grew up in the 1960s like I did. Goma Pyle, USMC, that starred Jim Nabors. Well, my next guest is a man who starred alongside Jim Nabors for many, many years, some 5 years in that comedy TV series. He's coming to Melbourne. He'll be here in April, one of the many celebrities of the Supernova Pop Culture Expo in April. More about that shortly, but let me first of all introduce my guest to you. Star of stage, TV, screen, the silver screen, known for his character of Duke Slater in Goma Pyle, and the voice of Jason in the animated series Battle of the Planets. Ronnie Schell, welcome into KC Radio. Nice to have you with us.
I am really grateful for this call, and I am really looking forward to my first trip down under.
Is that your first trip?
I have a lot of friends. And my very first trip to Australia. I have a lot of friends who are Australian who live here in the United States. Most of them are actors, and they're all thrilled for me.
Well, Ronnie, we're going to welcome you with open arms down here. I mean, to say, if you go back to those days of Goma Pyle, look, I grew up with Goma Pyle, and who didn't? What a fantastic series. Look, you had a wonderful break into the industry. Tell us how it all started for you.
It started, I started as a nightclub comedian in a place called the Purple Onion in San Francisco. And on opening night, my opening night, the other comedians, well, one comedian and folk singers, the other comedian starting out was Phyllis Diller.
Oh, right.
And, yes, and the group that I worked with was the Kingston Trio. Do you remember the Kingston Trio?
My word, I do.
Yeah.
And I believe
in fact, I traveled with him for a year and a half on their college concerts after that, and after about 4 years working in Vegas, well, I still work twice a year. I got an offer to go to the Desilu lot and audition for the part of Gomer's best friend Duke,
Yeah.
and I had met Jim when he worked the Purple Onion. He was a comedian singer, and so he remembered me, and he gave me encouragement, and that's how I got the part.
Well, you played a part of the bunkmate, didn't you?
Huh?
You were the bunkmate.
I was sort of the, very few people realize this, but the producer, his name was Aaron Rubin. He had Jim Nabors playing Gomer. He had Frank Sutton playing the crazy sergeant. So he wanted to have someone who represented the viewing public. Someone that would look at these two and go, oh, my God, these guys are crazy, or something like that. And that's why they hired me. I was sort of the straight person representing the viewers.
You know, it came across so well, and I think it was 5 years the series ran from memory.
It ran 5 years, and then we did 2 years of a variety show. I don't know if that ever played Australia, called the Jim Nabors Hour on CBS. And I was on that with him doing comedy sketches. And in between that 5 years, I did a year of a show, which I understand played well in Australia at the time. They told me that. A show on CBS called Good Morning World about two radio personalities, and my girlfriend was played by, believe it or not, Goldie Hawn.
Yes, I read that. Isn't that incredible? That is just incredible. That must have been a lot of fun working with her.
I have a little story. We were both single at the time, so we rehearsed in my apartment every night. And her only experience, she was a go-go dancer out of where was it? Baltimore, and she didn't like to rehearse a lot. And I said, after about 4 weeks of working with her, I said, Goldie, you're never going to go anywhere unless you listen to me and watch me, because I'm the pro here. I've been on this show for a while, and now I can teach you, but right now you're not going to make it. And she won the Academy Award the next year in Cactus Flower.
Well, there you are. What a great training ground you gave her then.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
I was working I was working some toilet in Omaha, Nebraska when I found out she won the Academy Award. But we remained friends, and I'm also friends with her longtime housemate, Kurt Russell, because the very first film I ever did was the strongest man in the world.
Yes, yes. And look, your TV credits are enormous. Your bio is huge. You know, the Andy Griffith Show, Dick Van Dyke, of course, Trapper John MD. Look, it goes. Mork and Mindy's there too. It just goes on and on. Mork and Mindy must have been a lot of fun.
I did the only 1 hour Mork and Mindy that they ever produced.
Yep.
Yeah, there was one. It was the only one for 1 hour, and that was great to work with Robin. He was a genius.
And of course, Ronnie, we had the Love Boat too. You had a part in the Love Boat, and the Love Boat's been playing in Australia here for donkey's years, and it's still going strong now.
Oh, is that right? That's great. That's great.
And MASH comes to mind as well.
Huh?
MASH, you were in MASH?
I was never in MASH.
Oh, you weren't?
I can lie and say that I was, but I'd be only foolish to do that.
Well, on your bio it said you had a part in MASH, so they must have been wrong in that one. Hey, I was reading that at school you were known as...
That's the one mistake they made.
Right, I'll cross that one out. I noticed that you were the class clown at school.
Yes, I didn't do that well in high school. I got kicked out for showing off, and I would... sometimes be in class and climb out the window, and I got thrown out twice. But I finally graduated and went on.
But being that class clown, that was probably going to set you up for the comedy years that were going to follow.
Well, let me tell you something. I have a theory, because I've worked with most of the comedians. I can't think of anyone that I haven't worked with through the years, and they all have one thing in common. They're all very insecure and have a lot of demons, I call them. So I was one of those, because I was raised. Well, I love my folks, but they were not the best. They liked the touch of the grape every night, and we became and that made me a little neurotic, and that sort of helped me be funny, I guess.
Ronnie, you had parts too in some great movies. One of those was one of my favourites, The Shaggy DA. Well, what a great movie. The Jetsons, the movie as well. You know, your credits go on and on and on. You must love that silver screen as well as television.
Yeah, my biggest role in a movie actually was a voiceover called The Cat from Outer Space.
Yes.
In which I played the voice of the star, the cat. And I was also in the movie as a sergeant in the Army, but the Disney people thought, well, now his voice is too much like the sergeant. So they changed my voice, my real voice, and if you ever see it, that's not my voice. My voice is the voice of the cat. Stranger things have happened in show business.
Ronnie, how hard is it doing something like that when you're doing animation like that and you're doing the voice? Does the character then have the mouth working to your voice, or do you work with the character?
I had no problems. I'll tell you why. In the beginning, they were going to hire somebody else later on, a big star, to play the voice of the cat. So I played the cat on the set, you know, with the other actors, with the cat there, and I would do his voice. He was called Jake the Cat. And after 14 weeks, the director came to me and said, "Look, Ronnie, why don't you just be the voice of the cat? You've been doing a fine job. We don't need a big star to do it." And that's how I got the permanent role. It was easy.
You've had so many wonderful breaks, and you've been in the industry for so many decades. It's absolutely wonderful. Now you're coming out to Australia for the Supernova Pulp Culture Expo. It's coming down to Melbourne. It's started way back in Sydney, 2002. You may know the history of that there. It's a homegrown product, and it's actors, sci-fi, books, comics, anime, you name it, and it's going to be there. You must be very excited to be part of that this year.
I'll tell you the truth, I've never been more excited, and I've been around everywhere. I've been all over the world entertaining, and I've never been down under, and I have so many friends that are from Australia, and of course Tommy Leonetti was a friend of mine years ago. He had a show like The Tonight Show in Australia, and he always told me how wonderful it was, and now I get a chance late in my career, but I'm looking forward to coming there and meeting and putting a shrimp on the barbie.
Well, indeed, absolutely. It's one of our favourites. And you'll be in Melbourne in April of this year. I believe last year we had about 185,000 people attending, so that's a huge thing. What will you be doing? Signing autographs, talking to people? What's your involvement?
all of that.
Mm-hmm.
I've just been told, since I just signed to come last week, I'm not sure exactly what. I know I'm going to, they said bring a lot of photos from your career, which I have, thousands, and I'll bring those with the big stars and stuff like that, and I'll sign autographs, and I understand I'm going to have a question and answer
yes,
session, and I'll enjoy that, and whatever else comes. I have, this is something I'm really looking forward to. I have the only, Jim Nabors has a copy of outtakes from the Goma Pyle show.
Go on.
Outtakes.
Yes.
Ones that are mistakes and laughs. And I'm going to bring that. I'm going to show that.
Oh, fantastic. Oh, well, look, I've got to see that. I love outtakes. I think they're just so funny. And how you guys get through various scenes.
These are really funny.
Yeah.
Joe Burnett's in them, and a lot of guest stars that we had during the years.
Oh, Ronnie, I would love to see that. That'd be absolutely... You should publish that on YouTube or something.
Well, Jim wants to keep those outtakes sort of a secret, so he just shows them in person, and then I show them in person.
Yeah, fair enough. And before I let you go, Battle of the Planets, you had the voice part in there too. That must have been good for you as well.
Which one?
Battle of the Planets.
Oh, God, yes. That you want me to tell you the true story on that?
Yeah, go on. Yeah, we've got a few minutes.
Oh, well, I'm not going to tell you a lie. How's that? It was originally a Japanese cartoon called Battle of the Planets, and so they hired me and some American actors to do the voices over.
Right.
And they took and in those days you couldn't do a lot of violent things on television, but you could in Japan.
Uh-huh.
So they took all the violent scenes out of Battle of the Planets, and sometimes, not always, but sometimes you couldn't follow the story because with the violence cut out, he'd go to the ending. It was a joy. I enjoyed it all.
That would have been a lot of fun. You sound like a fun guy. I'm dying to meet you. It'll be wonderful to see you in Melbourne on the 16th and 17th.
Please come up and introduce yourself, and we'll chat.
Yeah, we will do all of that. And it's on April the 16th and 17th here at Melbourne, at the Melbourne Showgrounds. You're going to have a lovely time in Australia. We've got a great country like you have, and we're going to welcome you with open arms.
I already know, and I'm looking forward to it.
Very, very nice talking to you, Ronnie. Thank you for being my guest today, and I do wish you well in Australia. Cheers, mate.
God bless.
Bye-bye to you. Ta-ta now. What a wonderful man. There he is, one of our great actors. And he'll be out here for the Supernova. He'll be here in Melbourne on the 16th and 17th at the Showgrounds. Tickets are on sale right now. Ronnie Schell, my special guest.